Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fulcrum 6.0, the Consulting Conclave. I am Yash Patil, a PGDM General Management student at Accenture Jamshedpur, batch 2027. Today, I have the honor of speaking with someone who has spent 25 years building technology, initially started as an engineer, and now leading architecture for one of the world's biggest organizations. Joining me is Mr. Sunjeet Gupta, Managing Director at Accenture. He is currently leading technology architecture, data, AI, and applied design for digital customer business. His story started as an engineer with stops at Tata Motors, Wipro, and Infosys before he joined Accenture nearly 16 years ago. In that time, he architected large-scale transformation projects for some of the world's biggest organizations. He also holds a patent with the platform he has built himself, and now today he sits right at the intersection where consulting meets technology, leading the architecture behind Accenture's own reinvention with the age of AI. Today we'll talk about his journey, his approach to leadership, and about our theme for today's podcast: generative AI is a disruptor. As a disruptor, is it an existential threat or biggest opportunity consulting has ever seen? Mr. Sunjeet Gupta, welcome to the XLRI.
Thanks a lot, Yash.
Yeah. So before we dive in, how was your travel experience to XLRI?
Oh, Jamshedpur, this has been first time for me, and lovely weather. I've already explored some part of the city. By the time I was actually, I managed to reach early, so just spent some time exploring the city. Wonderful city. I've been associated with Jamshedji Tata. I've been in Tata Motors for good some time. So yes, this city was always in my heart to visit once. So thanks, Xclusive, for giving the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to have you here. So basically, I have a divided question into multiple sections. So we'll start with your human journey first.
Okay.
So yeah. So basically, you studied electronics engineering and you landed your first job at Tata Motors as an ED engineer. That's about as far as typical consulting job. Looking back, did you always knew you will end up in consulting?
That's a good question. And it's a retrospective for me to actually really think about also, honestly, Yash.
Yeah.
Because it has been a journey, yes, and I love the journey that it has been, right? Right from the college time when Tata Motors came into our campus and selected us, right? It was a journey by itself, but at the same time, it was something as a slack period. If you remember during the 2001s, right? The industry was going through a turmoil, and we had to basically get into certain streams by which we can actually really make our career kickstart. So yes, for Tata Motors, that chance that I got from them, it is a hardcore engineering firm, right? Which brings aspects of electronics, mechanical, industry, everything together. And I've been in Tata Motors for their passenger car business unit. And it was a journey by itself. And the more I actually think about it, it actually gives me the first platform to understand how an actual production floor, how an actual large-scale factory really looks like. Right? And that too, I was into their car unit, right? And at that time, Indica and Indigo, if you remember, right? That was basically getting launched. In fact, when Indigo got launched, Sir Ratan Tata, he actually drove Indigo all the way in the plant, and we were just it was amazed to see the efforts of every person who is behind it to bring it live and see exactly how it is paving the way. So yes, that actually gave me the springboard to think more about how exactly I will have to get into the process part of the things, the industry part of the things, right? That's where I have been. Basically, that was the cusp of my love towards technology and industry and process together, which makes me really drive today also. And that was my pivot point from Tata Motors into the next companies that I started to join.
Yeah. So wonderful. You were one of the famous cars of India, Tata Indigo and Indigo. Yeah. So from there, now you moved into IT services, Wipro, Infosys, and now Accenture. So based on that, like at Infosys, you moved from technical specialist to an enterprise architect. What actually changes in how you think? What actually changed in what you think? And once you go from solving one technical problem to designing the entire system?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, Yash. And It was a complete transformation. It was a metamorphosis for me also, turning from a caterpillar to becoming, the architects of the initial butterflies. And yes, there was butterflies in my stomach also when I had to actually deal with such a role
Yeah.
at a large levels, right?
Hmm.
But I think that's where slowly the maturity started to step in, right? When you start to understand beyond technology and you start thinking about things which are going end to end for your clients, right?
Hmm.
That's where your mind starts to shift. That's
Hmm.
where you start to actually explore things where you are instructed to do something and you are always applying your technical mind to get a problem solving for it, but then transcending into why you are solving it for. You start with a question of why,
Why?
then actually trying to solve how, right? So that is a transition which basically took all of us. I mean, every technical specialist who transition from there to an enterprise architect has to go through this particular bridge. So it's not been different for me. So for me, it was more of a matter to then understand what is behind that we are really solving for client, right? Why am I solving this for client, right? What is going to be the benefit for the client when I'm doing it in this particular purpose? Those are the points which basically starts to make you think from a technical specialist to an architect, trying to understand and be the partner business solvers for your clients, right? That's where you pivot into that. So it's been same for me, right? I have been following it very rigorously, right? That's where basically my various bosses, my various mentors who have been, right? I've been very lucky to actually get absolutely great my own supervisors, my own sirs with whom I've worked with. They have been spectacular in shaping this particular aspect, right? Because it is always you look towards your mentors that how exactly they are navigating. And I've been lucky in that phase, right? And I've been getting that particular coaching every time, right from my Wipro days to Infosys to Accenture, where I've been the longest. They always tell me that, Sunjeet, you have to think beyond what you are actually looking, right? Because if you have to be visionary, you have to have that particular vision to think beyond, right? You cannot be seeing what is exactly in front of you and then start making things. You have to think what is going to be coming through, right? And that's where have been my journey over here when I actually transitioned from a technical specialist to being the enterprise architect, Yash.
So basically, answering the why is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you, as you mentioned, like around 2007, you spent a year as a technical architect at British Telecom, while you were still with Infosys. What did working directly with a large international client that early teach you that domestic project didn't?
So BT was, yeah, I think, I mean, for BT and that too in BT, this was a BT's two divisions, right? There is one BT division which was specifically for their work of their complete high tech transformation that they do. And then there was another BT which was managing the fleets of telco, which is basically moving around with BT's own logistics systems. Right? So I was more into the latter one, right? And it was a very unique experience to think about when BT was actually managing their data centers, and there is a logistic movement that has to actually take place with BT's own vehicles around to be moved around. That's where basically I had to understand the supply chain management. I have to understand logistics management during that time, and then pivot into solutioning making for them, right? So, and that's where I was just, as I was saying, that it is a transition from my technical architect to an industry architect that I basically started to get into. Right? So during Infosys, and it was basically from Infosys only when I was actually working, right, within the BT as my consultant practice architect over there. So it was a journey by itself where I had to basically pivot into understanding what are the processes behind the scene. I've been inside BT's data centers during that time. And data centers, if you won't believe that these data centers during that time, it was like nothing less than super secure. You have to pass layers and layers of security before you get into places where actually your actual code is going to get deployed, right? So it was way back then, but it was a experience by itself, and then you actually get to learn what exactly are the industry process that you actually see. So that was something that I also learned when I was actually there, from being a technical architect to becoming an industry architect accordingly.
Yeah. Wonderful. Like you got an on-site opportunity visiting a data center.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So next question is actually a bit personal. Like I was also with Accenture for last 3 years. So you joined Accenture as an associate manager around 2010, and 16 years later you are a managing director. That's a long run at a one firm. So especially in consulting, what kept you there at that this long?
See, Accenture, when I joined this particular firm, right, and I was actually transitioning from a role in Infosys for almost 5 to 6 years, right? And most of it was at the client side. And when I was starting to transition into Accenture, um, it was a change. I would be very honest, right? It was because companies are very different where we are talking, right? Accenture, when I got into during 2010, it was still something which was actually trying to get the firm very solid in the India market, right? And they were actually trying to get the right way of how exactly business models has to be set up, right? So when I joined during that time, it was more as a technical architect's capability by which I basically came in. But Accenture gave me a phenomenal opportunity from where I was to trusting into the technology skills of what I can do, and then giving the chances, right? This is the beauty of Accenture, right? Once they understand that a person is actually able to get to the thick of the things, right? It doesn't stops you, right? It keeps on giving you newer challenges. It keeps on testing you what is your next threshold, right? That is what is our company is about. And it kept on pushing it. And it was just that I had to navigate with those particular challenges which kept on coming to find what exactly the next solution that we are actually delivering for our clients. And that basically helped us, both myself as well as the organization to get into the right pivot points of what they are actually serving for our clients, right? Because ultimately the motto of our company is that we have to serve our clients and be the partners of their what they can actually do the best, right? We have to make them North Stars, right? So I think those opportunities which actually came into my way, and when we actually successfully did it, Accenture did not hold back in rewarding. They just kept on basically giving the right opportunity next, and that has been my journey. Right? So, and it's for everybody. It's not very different for me. That's how basically I think that made me actually stick to this firm. Right? It's a firm which basically lives to its words, lives to its expectation of what exactly in a right way a company should be actually becoming the best partners of our organizations, which to whom we are serving. Right?
So you found your second home.
I did.
Yeah. So this is one quite a different question. Like you hold a patent, like the something called MCAP, a mobile content acquisition platform. Most engineers build something for a project and move on. Why do you think this was worth patenting it?
I think probably you might have picked this from my LinkedIn, but that is probably not updated. I have actually 8 patents. It's not one, right? And MCAP is a very old patent, right? It was a patent where basically world was grappling with the problem of how exactly, if you remember, right? I mean, we had phases in our digital customer where we used to call, content is king, and then integration is king. Now, of course, data is the new oil, and then so on, right? I mean, industry keep on transitioning it like that. So during that time when this phrase was there in the market called content is king, right? That's when basically when we were defining these particular solutions for our clients. It's way back actually, almost in 2010, early during that day. Many companies were pivoting also into how exactly they have to really separate content from the main crux of digital experiences. And that's where this patent was about, right? It was actually creating composable content solutions during back then time, right? Which we basically patented. But most of my other patents now, almost the 8 patents that I have, is been on the data side. Some are on the immersive experiences, right? How the immersive experiences of future are becoming. They are actually like we are working with newer experiences with AI for UI, which is basically making everything adaptive, liquid experiences. So my patents has been around that. certain other patents which are actually so relevant right now, right? Like creating your own coding workbench where AI basically helps you do things faster. It was way back then where we basically got a patent on that. And that we basically started to apply into our projects also, that how we can actually accelerate by creating these intelligent workbenches. So it's an application of patent into actual thing which basically kept on thinking how best we can do more. And of course more patents came through, especially in the data side of the things, when we started to see exactly the management of the data to be done at a greater speed. It was a challenge by itself, right? And it was such a slippery floor that everybody was claiming that, yeah, data is something that everybody has mastered. But it was absolutely slippery floor where you don't get your foundation right, you're going to be slipping it endlessly, right?
Yeah.
So we had to control it by our own mechanisms of how data transitions can be done, data governance for large organization can be made, right? How exactly you can make data useful from a lot of things which the organization is actually trying to have and make it better insight driven for your organization. So that's where my other patents basically are, right? And wherever I'm saying my patent, is not my patent. It has been a patent with the team of people with whom we have worked, right? It's never been an individual patent for me. I have always worked in group where we have basically done these particular patents. Of course, I mean, when we have to do patents, there is always a hiccup. First, we ourselves have to believe that this is a very unique one, and we have to get over, and we have to basically get through the process, because it's a grilling process. You know, I mean, it's, but again, that's where basically company helps you, right? That's where basically company is always motivating you to get it out from your minds that yes, if it is unique enough, it actually has to be going through the patent cycle, no matter what grilling it needs. So that has been mine also, and yes, it has helped me also think into a understanding that while as a consultant we have to follow instructions of our client of how they want to get things done, there is always a brain which basically thinks about products that you can actually cultivate from your own minds and get it down onto the tables, right? That's where basically patent culture and the ownership basically starts to kick in from your own insight, and that drives you to think more and always push the boundaries.
Yeah. So I do see you are very much keen to build the solution. Like being an architecture, you're still very much aligned to building the solutions.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. Like, so now, so looking at the whole arc, like from engineer at Tata Motors to architect at Infosys and now at Accenture. So after 25 years of engineering, architecting, and now consulting, has your own definition of success changed?
Okay, after so much easy questions, you are now putting me curveballs. Okay, all right. So, see, definition of success is within you, Yash. Honestly, right? It is, every person has their own benchmark by which they basically define the success, right? And how exactly the question is so loaded. Why I'm saying so is because your own definitions of success constantly evolves, and it is not a bullseye to one particular point. You keep on redefining, re-exploring yourselves to see where you are actually there, and you are always trying to push it further to get into the best of what exactly the success measures can be. Yes, it has been very different. It has been, when I was in Tata Motors, my success over there was to understand, at least at a first point, how a car is actually made, right? How the 5 processes of right from getting your press shops to weld shops to your gear shops and engine shops and final assembly. Understanding that itself was a mammoth task for me. And once I started to get the hang of things, success for me was that. Because I then started to basically reward myself that now I can call myself as one of the automobile engineers who has seen the floor in action. Right? That was then. But then, of course, when I went into technical consulting, getting into the shoes of enterprise architects, my definitions of success constantly evolved. Right? During technical consulting, it was far pushed by learning newer technologies, making sure that I'm not left behind when it comes to any technology work that I have to do end to end. It was never focused towards one platform. It was always that T that I wanted to have. But it soon transitioned when I basically started becoming enterprise architect, and now as a managing director where I have to run a firm by self, right?
Yeah.
As an enterprise architect, the as I was saying you earlier, right? For me, understanding the entire process of my client and getting the right solutions for them was my success measure, right? Unless I
Yeah.
got it, I always get a itchy feeling that
Yeah.
I'm still not aware of what exactly my clients want. And then I'm basically not measuring myself as successful for that particular partnership. So the more I'm trying to know my client and why I'm doing it for it, the more I started feeling that I'm established and I'm successful in that. But now as managing director and the role where I'm basically stepping in, I have to basically get all of these things successful for my camaraderie, for my team, right? And that's the true benchmark that I want to get into. I want to make my architects successful. I want to
Yeah.
make my specialists, my experts, right? My applied designers who are coming from various backgrounds, my data specialists, my data scientists with whom I work. I have to make them successful, right? It's not
Right.
about me. It's about the journey of how I'm basically making this camaraderie stronger, right? That's where the new success definition lies for me. And it's a difficult one, Yash, honestly,
Yeah.
right? Absolutely. On being an architect, it has always been that, as an architect, I was always having a mind of a problem solver. But I'm now moving myself from being a problem solver to being at a juncture where I can basically make my team successful, and they will be the next problem solvers, and they will be the next leaders whom we will be cultivating to really drive the large transformation that we need, right? So success in the new terms is beyond me. Success in new terms is all about we and how we can actually navigate that particular path better. I am striving on that.
Yeah.
Give me some tips from Xclusive, what you guys do over there, and I will be more than happy to inculcate in my habits. But yes, definitely that is something that is a new success measure that I would say.
Yeah, we're still taking the baby steps, but sure, like if we can help in any way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So moving on to the second section, this is more about leading at scale. Early in your career, your value was solving the hardest technical problem yourself. As a MD, your value is getting other people to solve it. What was the hardest part of that shift? Like solving the problem yourself and now getting it solved by someone else.
I think I preempted the answer in the previous
Yeah.
point, but yeah, it remains the same, right? I mean, it's the whole transition that I had to make myself that, and this is a coaching that I got from my mentors, honestly. Right?
Yeah.
My previous supervisors, and they have been gurus to me when they basically practice. They always tell that when a problem is getting narrated to you, Sunjeet, again, don't get into a hurry to start defining a solution for it, right? You have to first think about exactly those, before hitting a 6, you will have to step 2-3 steps back, right? So as to gauge what exactly is there. That is the point where you basically then start thinking about how exactly I'm making my client successful, right? And for that, now I have got a team. Now I have got a leads, experts. They all are actually there in their respective areas where they are experts into. How best you can connect their potential, harness that strength, and really make it happen is where the secret sauce is, right? Because there are experts everywhere, right? There are experts of data, there is experts of technology, experts of platform, experts of industry who are there. How well you are able to orchestrate and bring them under a single thread, right?
Yeah.
In Hindi, we call it as being the sutradhar. Right? If you are the sutradhar who can actually tie this expertise together in cohesion so that they can really shine like a sun, that's where basically my abilities have basically been changed, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, Yash, I'm learning it. Yes, as I was saying it in the previous answers, that it has been a learning journey for me. I'm learning it myself that it is the cohort that has to become the strongest, right?
Yeah.
I won't take those examples of weakest link in the chain, which can break the chain, because it's not about the weakest link. It's about how potential each person's strength is, which can be brought onto the table to solve the larger ecosystem together.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest path, right? Because you have to really select the powers of strengths of each person in a balanced way, so as to solve the larger good. I read it somewhere in your outside in one of your podiums also. I think you have a punchline, the living for the larger good. I just loved it, right? And that's exactly is something that is a mantra that I'm trying to inculcate for this particular point that you are asking me, Yash.
A lot to learn from you. Like, instead of focusing on the weakness, let's focus on the strengths of the individuals. So moving on to the next question. You have described your work as owning large-scale IT projects with complete system integration end to end. What's the real difference between owning a piece of project and owning the whole thing?
So it's the same point, right? And owning a piece is like tunneling yourself to trying to find the solution as per the need or definition. Owning the entire experience or owning the entire product is a different ballgame, right? Because at times you have to be very patient in absorbing the enthusiasm of your specialist who is really focused. I won't use the word tunnel because it is maybe negative, but he or she is very focused in trying to solve what he wants, right? But he's very enthusiastic in talking and explaining it, right? And sometimes you have to be patient enough to understand what exactly he or she is trying to relay, because you might know deep in your own mind that you know this solution, but you have to really respect that enthusiasm that is coming from that particular person to understand what is his point of view. How is he putting this particular solution down? And then block by block, you assemble it to make the larger product. So it's not about one person's enthusiasm, but you have to actually bring multiple people's understandings to see that larger product, how it is basically shaped up. A person who is basically building a wall is not the expert who is just putting the brick one by one and cementing it. That guy is also watching whether the wall is actually getting constructed at 90 degrees or not. Is there a bit of a slant, right? He has that very keen, watchful eyes by which he sees what is the thickness at which basically the whole plaster is getting applied and whether it is basically going to carry the weight or the wall might actually fall because of all of that. But your guy who's putting the brick is actually the expert who is basically faster in assembling the whole thing. But you are seeing the larger product in front of your eyes. So you have to think ahead of that. Right? So you have to think 5 steps ahead of what the building blocks are actually happening, right? So as to see how exactly the end products are going to be coming out. So that is where the change lies, right? And that constantly matures in how we actually serve our client, and that comes with, of course, a lot of time that we are spending in multiple industries also. Every industry is so different that when you actually start seeing the problems and you start applying one industry's problem into other, it doesn't fit. And that's where your learning curvature starts and your experience that is coming from other industry both coax together so as to then try to find out what is happening for this industry now, and let me then apply what exactly is the new learning and start learning from my own experts who are really building it to see what the final product will look like.
So a lot to admire, and it's a great lesson. Like, if you keep an open mind, listening to others, accepting their opinions, and then working on it. Great.
Very much.
Thank you. So my next question is, someone who worked with you early in your career once said you were handed the most complex module on day one and you came out with flying colors, mostly because how you patiently got to the root of the problem. Was patience something you had built deliberately or it was natural?
Okay, I will be very honest with this answer because people who will be watching this particular podcast and who knows me, they know how impatient I am, right? But I have basically cultivated that, right? And again, over there, I won't basically be shy enough to not mention my all earlier mentors and my bosses with whom I have worked. They have constantly understood, and that's where I will again go back, that they have constantly understood my energy, right? And they have harnessed that energy to always create that right force, right? Otherwise, at times when I become overwhelming, they tell me that you have to control your thoughts, right? You have to put your thoughts in the shortest of your words to make it as much impactful as you would do otherwise by stating a full paragraph, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It also actually happens in my emails, right? I am very notorious in my organization with my friends and colleagues who says that when Sunjeet writes emails, it is like this big, right? So
Yeah.
that's again something which I have learned by understanding patiently that what exactly I am basically trying to narrate. Do I have a clarity of the thoughts? Right? Applying that clarity of the thoughts patiently before any word comes out from your mouth, which is connected to your brain, because your brain is like whizzing so fast, right?
Yeah.
If you go with that velocity by the utterances that you do, then you lose the patience.
Yeah.
The patience is about controlling what is happening here, controlling the velocity which is coming out from here,
Yeah.
making most use of this, where you understand where the conversation is happening, where the crux of the things are moving, and then reacting to the outputs, right? It has been a balancing act, Yash, honestly, I will
Yeah.
tell, right? Because always whatever is working over here at this same speed, this particular thing is coming out.
Coming out. Yeah.
So patience started to develop for me when I started to control what is basically the balance which of my thoughts and my words are actually trying to come out. So that I don't repeat myself. I don't consider the person to whom I am speaking as something who will need everything from foundation or scratch, right?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
often that is what we tend to do. We start to actually explain everything bottom up, right? So that's where gradually I have developed my own patience, right? I have tried
Yeah.
to understand that, okay, for a particular thing to be looked from a completeness, you cannot go nearest to that particular product and see how complete it is. You will also have to step back quite a bit so as to then understand the complete isometric of that particular product. Stepping back is patience. Stepping back will give you that larger view of the product that you want to basically make. That's where basically patience gets inculcated.
Yeah. So impatience is okay as long as you're able to control your mind. Okay. Next question is, Accenture song itself has grown through constant acquisition and reinvention. How do you lead architecture and design for something that's still actively changing shape under you?
Yeah, I mean, so this is an industry problem, right? And
Yeah.
everybody is trying to solve it in their own ways, right? Your technology is not going to stop, right? And in the era where we are living, right, whatever you are actually working with right now, earlier the gestation period used to be 6 months, 8 months. Now it is days, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that you are actually working on now, you might be actually within a week, you will be finding yourself updated with something new that has come because of that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a constant, I would say, adaptation of ourselves, right? And that is shrinking, right? Earlier we had a time period of adaptation, and that is getting compressed more and more, right? So what we are actually really, I mean, we are working with our clients, we are working with our colleagues to constantly upgrade ourselves that the conversations are becoming more and more meaningful. They are not blue sky thinking anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So, how do you then balance it in a way that you are constantly giving outputs for your clients who are wanting to see the change of technology that is actually happening, how fast they can adopt?
Yeah.
So, that has been, and I'm lucky enough that my team, which is there, right, on ground, they have this mindset from, I think, far before than I had this mindset. They believe in making, right? And they constantly basically churn out things by understanding certain things and relaying it out faster. So that has helped me transition
Yeah.
the technology. That don't try to basically, have technology being understood from its wave.
Yeah.
Get into the thick of the things and then try to see how exactly it is solving the things for you, and then you basically then start enjoying this change which is constantly coming. If you just ride the wave, you will always be at the tip of that particular curve, right? And you will always feel the imbalance in your thoughts, in your learning, etc. But if you are actually right away striking the wave at the center of it, right?
Yeah.
By making things happen, seeing how exactly it turns out, and then believing it yourself that what works, what does not work, right? You shade away a lot of noise, right? So everybody says that if this is the large circle of understanding, the dot is what you want to find in that large stack. And that's where I think that can happen only when you start converting your ideas, your technology learnings, and your new things that is coming out into actual actions, right?
Yeah.
Faster you do it, faster you feel comfortable, faster you feel more energetic to basically do more problem solving with the change that is actually coming through. So this is constant, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think, and my advice to all my viewers would be that I think don't be afraid about what exactly is the change in technology of the things which is basically constantly evolving, as be a inhibitor in your mind that, oh, what is basic, am I getting outdated? No,
Yeah.
you will never get outdated, right? It is the faster you transform, the faster you are able to understand things, the faster you will be able to enjoy that particular aspect. And don't fear that particular transformation. It is
Yeah.
only in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to open your mind to adapt that particular transformation and you will start liking it.
Yeah. So change is something you can't resist.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question is, you have built portals, content platforms, e-commerce system, dozens of them. Most deliver and never spoken of again. What made MCAP different? Were the extra step of patenting?
See, that's what I was actually covering in the patents, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just MCAP, but all the patents that has been there, right? You have to always, the work that we do for our clients when we are actually creating products for them, there is always a thing that you are actually creating very uniquely. And you
Yeah.
have to always think about it, that what that uniqueness is there. And of course, it is not, you are not basically trying to, say that if you are actually working with your clients, they have their own specific industry nuances, which they basically close guarded. We have to think beyond that. Okay, we are not touching that. But what patents are is that one unique agnostic thing which you are doing that can benefit the larger orientation of all the work that you are doing for your clients, for your thought leadership workshops, for your larger good of things that you basically come out as a product, right? You have to just identify that. Often what happens is we are so much into timeline pressures and we are so much actually into that particular culture of making it happen that we miss these signals, that these are the uniqueness which can be actually benefiting the organization and also benefiting to make it basically as unique so that it can be applied again and again. So you need to have that watchful eye, right?
Yeah.
Even when the churn is happening, right? You have to notice that churn very carefully and see what is exactly happening uniquely and repeatedly. If it is unique enough and if it is repeating multiple times, spot that trend and start making it as a product of yourself. And that's where your real enthusiasm of making your own kicks in. And you are able to identify that.
Yeah. So a lot to admire from you, actually. I have already started admiring you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This conversation is nice.
Yeah. So my next question is, most of the consultant's career is spent delivering someone else's vision for a client. You have also built and patented something of your own. What actually changes when you move from delivering to owning?
It's a belief, right? It's a belief in yourself, right? You always take instructions, and I can take it to the most simplest words that when a child is born, right, and as a parent, when you start giving all the knowledge to your child so that child is actually becoming the best person with all the balanced knowledge, with all the respect that he has for himself as well as for the society, and making him or her a better person, right? There is always instructions and learning that is very important. You cannot discount that. So when I'm working for my client and my client is actually telling me some things to be done, if I completely discard it at the first place and start applying my own thing that I have to create something completely new as a product for you. You don't know your things, let me solve it for you. That's not the balance equation where even the nature actually works, right? The nature is always trying to teach you first.
Yeah.
Before you become the guru and you give back to the nature. That is the same thing which gets applied in our professions. You have to strike enough balance to understand something that you are instructed to, and you have to adhere and work and create. But in that process, as I was saying earlier, where you find that something has a missing link or there are gaps, that's where you step in with your product orientation mind and you start to complete it as a complete product, right?
Yeah.
So I would never say to my viewers, I would never say to my every person who have been working with me that, hey, don't just follow instructions, always just be the creator. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, and I don't even believe that, right? I always believe that you have to learn first before you create next. So you have to learn from whatever you do, and then there is an art of giving back through your creative minds by creating these particular products. That's the striking balance, which will always makes me move, because I'm never isolating my left brain, which is always getting bombarded by new learnings that I have to learn, and my right brain always trying to apply how exactly a product can be created by whatever I'm learning. Right? So it's a balancing art.
Yeah, amazing. So moving on to the next section. So this is more of the hot trend, AI. All of that architecture experience is about to be tested in a way it has never before. So today's real question, honestly, is Gen AI existential threat to consulting or the biggest opportunity the industry has seen?
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, why there is even a iota of doubt that we are on some sort of a threat. There is no threat, right? AI has been in our life from long time, right? During my college days, during 1999, 2000, I used to study subjects of neural networking, artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So if those were getting taught way back, almost 26 years, 25 years back, that exactly meant that AI was already getting applied.
Yeah.
Only when this AI got generalized and larger people started to understand its potential by whosoever had this spectacular idea to make it generalized by inventing these LLMs,
Yeah.
I think he did a brilliant job, right?
Yeah.
And they basically made AI available for the masses. So where is the threat? There is no threat, right?
Yeah.
They have explained a concept which probably was convoluted and it was limited to few minds to make it available for the larger masses, right?
Yeah.
So it's never a threat that, okay, AI is going to come and take over and do things which is basically seen in the movies and we are going to move into some different planet.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any of that, right? It is about a companion who is trying to make things smarter for you, right?
Yeah.
And AI is also at a learning stage right now, right? I mean, it is that friend in the block when you move with your parents to a new city and you find a new friend with whom you have to play, and you start to understand what this guy can do and what I can do, right? That's basically the stage where we are in, right? We learn each other's skill and we basically make the best of the things when these things has to come together. So I don't think, at least right now, it is any kind of a threat. It is an opportunity to transform, right? It is an opportunity to basically see things beyond what we have been seeing altogether. So for me, AI is transformation, right? It's never a threat. It's an opportunity, especially for you guys, right? Because I don't know, I mean, if you have got a question subsequently, and I might preempt that answer, you guys are going to be the makers of new industry processes which is going to get defined. Nobody else.
Yeah.
You are going to bring together the closeness between technology, process, industry knowledge, platforms squeezed in
Squeezed.
together to really define how exactly a new outlook would be.
Yeah.
Do you really see that as a threat? I don't think so.
Yeah. So looking at the positive sides of the thing, very important. Yeah. So my next question is, if Gen AI keeps automating the technical execution consultants used to be hired for, what's the one skill a consulting career actually depends on now that it didn't need as much 10 years ago?
Again, I would say that, automation is a word which basically everybody uses as per their own convenience, right? And automation is an output that you want, right?
Yeah.
How do you achieve that particular output requires a lot of thought process behind the scene, where the things has to be strategized, put it into a perspective, have the perceptions right into it, and then create the final outcome. All of this is driven by a consultant. The strategic thought process that the person brings in, the rethinking of the same old ways in a new way, that mindset comes from them. The knowledge of how industry is really changing, sensing that ahead, and then starting to define how exactly the newness in that would be, is coming from them.
Yeah.
The capacity and the speed by which you can transform these ideas into an outcome is coming by the combination of the consulting and the engineering folks to really think about how exactly this can be mediated into a final product, right? So I would never say that it is a way where we are starting to think that automation will suddenly take away the key skills of consultants.
Yeah.
Consultants are going to augment it. Consultants are basically going to be the real visionary people who are going to make the larger masses think beyond their regular ways of how they have seen the things happening. Right? You pick up these days the banking processes, they are changing.
Yeah.
You see the telco processes of the products being offered completely pivoting to something different, right? You see the way you are buying, right?
Yeah.
Right? That has drastically changed the way you are actually used to do it earlier times,
Yeah.
right? And it keeps on changing. The brick and mortar is challenging the digital and online world. The digital and online world is challenging the phygital world, right? Which is basically bringing phygital and digital together. All of these are together challenging experiences to become immersive. Where is all these thoughts coming from? They're coming from the consulting mind. The consulting mind is thinking about it, that how exactly the same perspective the person is used to seeing is now pivoting to see something differently. And they are together joining hands in a very tighter way with engineering to make it happen. So I see consulting as the catalyst who is going to make the reaction happen. Right? That's where basically the point of how exactly they will be really making the difference, right? So that's the answer, my friend.
Yeah, changing the perspective basically. So moving on to next. Now that we have talked through all of this, if you have to bet in the next 10 years of your own career on one answer, which way you are leaning?
See, I am leaning to, and maybe this is where I'm saying that I will just summarize all of the points that you have basically mentioned. Always try to see with your camaraderie, with your team, how the expertise that they have can be brought together to solve the larger goal. Keep your left brain working for the changes, because changes are going to be more and more frequent. Right?
Yeah.
Treat the change as your constant. Treat the change as something that is actually regular. You will start enjoying it. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Right? If the change is sometime winning over you, let it win.
Yeah.
But strike back. Right? That's the second thing that I basically see. Right? Transform yourself. Right? Make things basically see in different ways to a things that you have basically been seen earlier. But at the same time, keeping the balance, right? It's not about getting instruction and getting things done is not bad. Balancing it with the uniqueness of the things that you want to bring in is where the art is. right?
Yeah.
So as long as you are keeping this transformation fuel on, you are keeping your mind always busy to find out the uniqueness to actually have your product mindset working, and your hunger to always learn, it's always going to basically pivot you continuously, right? In fact, I'll correct myself. My English teacher in class 8th corrected me, Sanjeet, do you know the difference between continuous and continual? I never knew this, and she made me realize that if you have to be a learner for your entire life, you have to be a continual learner, right? And that, because continuity or continuous, it stops after some cycle. Continual is like living forever to learn something which is basically happening around it, and considering yourself as a infinite learner, right? You might be a guru for somebody else, you might be a mentor for somebody else, but you are always a learner inside. That's what basically keeps me moving, right?
Yeah. So now, even now, I know the difference between continuous and continual. Yeah. So looking ahead in the future now, so for someone who is about to start a career in consulting, right as AI is reshaping, uh, what should they actually be building in themselves that can't be automated away?
See, this is, I mean, and for a person who is basically coming out from grad schools like you, and this is what I was actually talking to some of the other grad schools I went, right? You need to understand what is happening current.
Yeah.
Any process you pick, right? Whether it is your banking processes, which is happening with your SME business, with your corporate business, with your retail business, or in telco, you are doing prepaid, postpaid solutions, right? Or in life sciences, you are doing clinical launches, right? Or how clinical trials has to be done around that particular area, right? You pick any of that, you have to first understand the baseline of it.
Yeah.
That is what basically will help you go longer distance, because you know how things were happening, and having that multi-domain knowledge, because management school is teaching you all the right arts to strike balance with respect to how you have to be firm enough into creating newer strategies, trying to identify ideas, making execution happen, right? And not leaving the ideas onto the table, operating it to a larger extent so that it doesn't become an innovation only for a handful, but making it disruptive and masses. So the school is already teaching you these fundamentals.
Yeah.
You take this fundamental and start exploring yourself that, okay, if I see these 4 dimensions into a banking industry, into a telco industry, into a life sciences industry, into a retail industry of consumer products, what are they doing differently now, right? As long as you are able to apply all of this across the industry, you are already in the game. You are already able to actually do the right talks with the other consultants and other strategists who are there around the world thinking about it, right? That's where the world is moving, and that's my advice to all the budding new consultants, that keep your fundamental management learning, because those are the edifice, those are the foundation blocks, right, of yours, which is getting chiseled in these schools.
Yeah.
Give it a wrapper of multi-domain industry, right? And then a pinch of salt with technology and understanding around it.
Yeah.
You are then the most powerful person in the room who can actually understand all of these particular dimensions. So I see you, Yash, actually doing all of that, maybe, right? Maybe in the coming future, very soon.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah. So linking to this, like, since we are now moving into a very fast evolution, what are your thoughts on 1-year MBA colleges in India?
That was it was a revelation. I was talking to one of your colleagues actually, and he told me that this is something which is starting, and he was mentioning about some of the college, like your own college, I am Udaipur, and some of those which have started to offer this.
Yeah.
The more I'm hearing it, more I'm now thinking that I have to do myself, right? One of these particular courses.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very good idea, right? Because it gives that particular launchpad to many people who are looking for those right directions to basically bring these particular foundational corrections in their life.
Yeah.
Like how they have to believe in the strategic making of the things, how they have to basically identify or spot an idea, how they have to basically excel in converting those ideas into an actual engineering output, and how they have to scale it out, right?
Yeah.
All of this is tied through a perfect string of understanding the management skills, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an opportunity, honestly, right? Even for our leaders, I think, I mean, there are most of the leaders who have already done it. Probably I haven't done it, so I have to make a move, right? I have to basically find out time in my schedules to get this particular thing done, right? As I'm saying that learning never stops. So I will have to basically take that action. But for you guys, 1 year learning, especially from the background of the already experience that you carry, I think it gives you that thrust,
Yeah.
right? So as to really move forward once you get this particular school's curriculum completed. So I will give a thumbs up to this, right? And I have to study myself that how the compression is taking place. Is it too much for the mind, or is it something like the guys are able to absorb? I think it is latter, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I see that how exactly these things are actually going to pivot the industry and make better leaders out of India who are actually basically making India as a larger initiative. That can only happen when these courses are more and more practitioner oriented and
Yeah.
really taking the people onto the ground of things and making it happen. Right? So thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.